half of the property.
Do you mind
half
if
of
I
the
record it? I'm going to post it.
Half of the property is old Jeffco landfill, which I believe closed in 94, and then we opened in 95. We've got about I think it's 300 total acres of property over there. The landfill, boy, so we have obviously high winds, which everyone is kind of accustomed to around here. It's nothing new that we've had to deal with. We have multiple layers of defense when it comes to keeping the trash on site. So at the very closest area, excuse me, that where the trucks dump, we have what's called bull fences, and these are portable 15-foot wind fences that we can pick up with our heavy equipment and move them into position to try to mitigate that very initial offloading of the waste. And then further down towards the southeast, I guess that would be, there are other multiple lines of defense that we even have along Leiden Road there, the Jurassic Park fence, which I'm sure everyone sees as they drive in down there by the flare, that red glowing flame that runs 24/7 down there. We've got the Jurassic Park fence that we've talked about, and that's I believe that's a 50-foot tall fence that you kind of see at the Topgolf, same kind of deal. It's made out of chain link fence. It's metal, 1 foot diameter posts that are secured in the ground, and then there's chain link fence in between each post to try to catch some of that wind-blown paper. And unfortunately, as the landfill continues to grow, the landfill goes up. So the higher and higher the landfill goes, the less likely chance there is of these mechanisms actually catching the trash. And then what we do after a wind event happens, we go out and we pick up the trash as quickly and as safely as we can. We always can't jump on it while it's happening, obviously, because it's just not safe. But we employ anywhere from, when the wind first starts in October to when it ends in April. We've got 4 or 5 extra temporary employees on site to the 14 to 20 employees per day that we had just recently. Today we didn't have any, but last week we had 14 individuals out walking around trying to get that stuff picked up. The other thing we always try to do is you always try to start the furthest away and work our way in. So we do a lot of Petridge Park first, kind of down by Culebra, maybe even further down, work our way towards the landfill. Some of the hot spots, there's the row of homes that are right there by the landfill across from the HOA open place. We try to go after that first because that's kind of the high visibility places. If there's anyone on the call, or if you guys want to, we talked about it earlier, if you want to get my name and number and get it to whoever needs me to come over and pick up their backyard, pick up a certain area because they got
No. Wait, no, I don't want him coming over and picking up stuff. You don't have to do that. No, don't be silly. Mark, I'm looking at you. I'm not looking at you on the phone. I'm looking at my husband. I'm going, what?
There we go.
So, we're more than glad to do it. Last year, we certainly had neighbors want us to come into people's backyard and pick that up, and we did, because they're elderly, or they just can't get to it because they're at work, or whatever the situation is. The only thing I ask, and we've kind of made this a year-long or a yearly thing, is if you do text me or call me, please give me permission to be in your backyard, because the people that go in your backyard are not my employees. They're temporary employees of a third-party vendor. And they're hard to keep track of, that many people around. So if there's something that comes up missing, I need to know right away, and I need your permission to come in the backyard because it's private property. Some of the other things. So our permit. Let's talk about our wind permit. Our wind permit, which is issued by the state, tells us we have to shut down if we have 35-mile-an-hour winds for 15 minutes. So we have to have 35 miles an hour for 15 minutes, or a gust of 55 miles an hour. And if either one of those happen, we have to shut down for an hour. And typically it becomes unsafe at that point anyway. So we shut down just for safety reasons. just to, you know, I don't need someone getting hit by a 2x4 or a 4x8 or something that knocks them to the ground, and I've got a bigger issue. So like I say, you know, in conclusion, if you guys have anything that's in your backyard and you got something going on, you need me to jump on it, just give me a shout, let me know. The Metro District's got my cell phone number. I'm sure it's on the webpage. Whatever, you know, I'm here to help. I'll help to clean up the mess. This is a long process, so it starts in October, ends late March, early April. You know, I can't control the weather, or else I wouldn't be doing this job. But you know, we certainly do our best to get it taken care of, get it back on site. You have to be a little bit patient with me, just because it's such a big area, and we're as high as we are, the wind will take paper pretty far. Just from a historical standpoint, if anyone wants to know the record, wind at the landfill, not recently, you know, 10 years ago was 104. And that's a function of hot weather, cold weather changing, and that's where the winds come from. So if we've got days like today where it's 70 out and then would drop down to 20, when it's dropping down to 20 is when we would have the big winds, or vice versa, right? So that's where it comes from. Scott, I don't know if you have any other questions, or anyone else does.
No, I don't have any questions. I'll open it up to everyone else. How do I unmute everybody?
Well, I
I'm
just
unmuted.
unmuted myself, and I've got a couple if you don't mind.
I guess everybody can unmute yourself if you have any questions for Chris or comments or anything like that. So go ahead, Brett, you have the floor.
Okay, hey, Chris, again, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate your time and the partnership. I did notice, and I've been over on the west side of the neighborhood a few times over the last couple of weeks during the wind events, and the operations of the landfill seems to have transitioned from a lower area, which is much closer to the fencing, to a higher area, much closer to the top of the hogback. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And my thinking there is that we are actually filling right up against the hogback to hopefully protect us from some of that wind, that the wind will hit the hogback and then blow over where we're filling, so that we're not creating a different spot or somewhere where the wind's got a chance to pick up and blow it even further.
Okay, great.
So
a
that
little
was
bit of-
totally on purpose.
Okay, so a wind shadow effect is kind of what you're looking for there.
Exactly.
I'm gonna try and share my screen here. I haven't done this yet, and technology is, as Katie knows, can elude me at times. But I want to share a picture that I took this morning. Let's see if I can. Don't see an easy way to do this.
Should be a green bottom, a green button at the bottom
Share
that says
screen.
share screen.
Okay. Oh, the host disabled screen sharing to knock down on some of those interesting. So I'm not able to do it.
Here, I'll make you host and see if that allows you to do it.
Can I say something, please? This is Maureen.
Sure, Maureen, you mind if I finish my thought?
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Okay, no, not a problem. Absolutely. We'll have plenty of time for you. I just wanted to kind of continue with my thought. Well, what I saw, Chris, is I'm standing on Gore and looking west towards the landfill. I see the operations there. I don't see the bull fence that you're referring to, the 15-foot bull fence. It may be there, but you can't see it from Gore Street. Is there fencing along that ridge, right along the outside?
Yeah, so the bull fencing, because of where we're at, if you look, if you look up the hill right from where the flare's at, that's the line where it's at right now, because the predominant wind is blowing right off the hogback and basically heading due south, as opposed to southeast. But there are fences along the side of the landfill that you can see from that cul-de-sac there.
Yeah, our residents though are looking at that. They're feeling the wind coming at them from the west. I agree, it does primarily come north to south. But there's times where the wind's coming from the west and they're seeing no fences.
Okay,
And that's a concern because we're not seeing the line of defense that you're talking about here. Do you have fencing that you could install along that line? Because your next line of defense is much lower down the hill.
sure.
And
We
the-
can do that tomorrow.
And the appearance is that those lower fences aren't going to catch what's coming off the very top of the plateau there. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes great sense. We can certainly do that tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I'll get the guys on building fence and get some of those bigger fences moved over to that would be the east side of my landfill, basically. But yeah,
Right. Don't want to move fencing from where it's important and where you think it needs to be. But it's, there's a definite perception here that there ain't nothing there to stop it.
sure. And that's easy to put up that little 4-foot fence I talked about tomorrow, and then put up some of those bigger fences, as the week progresses.
And Chris, are you guys facing workforce shortages, temporary labor available to come out and do some of the cleanup that you guys have done in the past?
Yeah, we're definitely feeling the pinch that everybody else is in this economy.
Sure.
I've actually employed 2 different companies to supply me with people. So sometimes I'll get 2 from one and 3 from another, and then 14 from another. So I actually started ramping up with these people probably 2 months ago and saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to give you guys a call and I need 15 people, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So start the recruiting process, start getting people on board so that we can get them on site when I need them.
Okay. Makes sense. But have you had adequate people, or has it been difficult to get people out to be able to do some of the cleanup that you guys have done
it's been difficult, I would say. But recently, since the was it the extra $300 or $400 that went away about a month ago, that switch kind of flipped to where I could get 10 people from each company. Before that, I was lucky to get 2. So it's getting better.
And how soon should we normally expect to see those guys out in the neighborhood after a wind event?
I would say 24 hours, depending on if snow is associated or, the wind is still blowing and, safety stuff.
Right.
But I would plan on the next day if as long as everything is safe to go out there.
But you're not going to send people out when the wind's still blowing, because that's just a terrible use of manpower.
Right. And it could be unsafe. I mean, especially if you're close to the landfill where a 4x8 could get picked up and knock you over, that's just not safe.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I've got a couple other questions, but I'm going to step aside a little bit. Greg, do you mind if we go to Maureen and then come back to you?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Hi, Maureen.
Maureen, you're on mute. Did we lose her?
I think she's there.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can now.
Okay. So anyway, my husband's sitting here too. Anyway, I think we kind of stepped in on the wrong meeting. I thought this was going to be more about like maybe what kind of ideas and stuff. But my question to you guys is, have you thought anything about maybe involving the community, like just putting something out there saying, hey, we are welcoming your ideas, how we can solve this problem, and maybe get some creative ideas. Like maybe I was just sitting here doodling, and all those plastic bags that we're all complaining about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's something a little crazy, but what if we just collected all those and made a big blanket, let the Boy Scouts do it and put it over the top? That's just a silly thing, but I'm just saying, everybody just make some, put it out to the community and say, what are your ideas on this? Instead of just letting them, complain about it, say, if you got an idea, we are more than willing to listen, and get some ideas. Six Sigma does it all the time.
Maureen, that's a great point, especially about those plastic bags. I know they're hard to recycle, but
That's why you use them to make a blanket.
Right, and that King Supers down there in Candelas will actually take them and recycle them also. So if you guys do like a
Yeah,
drive,
yeah, we do that. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
you can use them and put them over the stuff that's blowing so it doesn't blow. And then they recycle eventually after years and years. It's just a silly idea, but I'm putting it out there. But my main point is just, ask people what their ideas are with this problem. And they come up with good ideas and they come up with silly ones, but it doesn't hurt. And you know what? They get involved.
sounds good. I appreciate it.
I know.
You
Thank you.
guys would be open to ideas coming to Maureen's point, though. You guys are open to ideas if somebody has an idea of, hey, could we try this? Could we try that? You guys are always welcome to
Oh yeah.
open to listening to those, aren't you, Chris?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention. Is that the saying?
Right.
We try to come up with new things every day. Like where we're going to be when the wind comes.
Yeah.
We use chopped up tires to cover up the trash when wind comes because they're
And that
heavy.
came from someone's idea. And you know what? I think actions speak louder than words. And I think that's what people want to hear. Just actions and say, Anyway, hey, you know what? We got to get going, but you guys have a good evening and great week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Bye.
And Katie, we have contact information for Chris and the landfill team on our website. Is that right?
So I don't have it on like our homepage website, but it is on the resident portal. And then we've included it in the newsletter as well.
Okay. All right. We just want to make sure that that's easy to get to.
Absolutely.
All right.
Mr. Schuster.
Hello. Just a couple questions, more about the landfill. I remember when we first moved in, like 3 years ago, you did a song and dance at the clubhouse, talked about operations and those kinds of things. And, from the trash blowing, it doesn't seem to, I get some bags in my yard and I pick them up or those kinds of things. I think some people have had, animals, get into them or something along that line. Probably the biggest concern I've seen is I've come across some PII information. Now that's not your fault. That's people throwing things away that they should be putting through their shredder anyway, but it's kind of interesting. I came across a medical document one time. And that has nothing to do with you guys. That's people throwing their trash away that they shouldn't. In terms of I was just out walking. I looked at it again today on the east side where you still have the bare dirt on the lower end. That is still loaded with trash. It's probably caught behind the fences and everything along that line, but it's really an eyesore. Instead of looking at the bare dirt or the dead grass or those kinds of things, it is just full of trash and bags. And it's been like that for weeks. Now, maybe that's just because you guys haven't had a chance to get to it. But I noticed that as just simply a visual eyesore that just on your side on that slope, that's not getting cleaned up.
Right. So that's, in my mind, that's the last part we do. Because I want to take care of Petridge Park. I want to take care of you guys. I want to work towards my property because my property's last because, I'd rather take care of you guys first. But, we will get that cleaned up. That's all part of, so as we work up towards the landfill, we get to that Jurassic Park fence and then it gets really intense. And it's nice there because the area is smaller. So if you think of it like a funnel, we're about halfway through the funnel and then we can really knock it out really, really quick. And a lot of that is in those fences. A lot of it's caught in the weeds. So it's really easy to get it picked up. And then what we do also, just to kind of add to that, is when we think the winds are done, so we're talking middle April, we reset. We go all the way back to Petridge and we do a deep cleaning. We tell everybody, hey, we want 30 bags by the end of the day, or whatever the number is. We're going to do one last deep cleaning to make sure when the grass starts growing and people are walking more and there's more wildlife around, that we've got it as clean as we can possibly get it.
Okay, great. No, that makes completely sense. The other part of my question was, boy, and maybe you explain this because you're kind of down by the hogback right now, but it almost looks like you were getting ready to top out on that east side. Because at one time I heard you guys were going to go to about the height of the hogback. It's hard to tell whether you're at that or not.
Right.
But are you topped out on that east side, or how much higher are you going to be going? Do you have like long-term plans that you can share, like topo plans of what that may look like? What's the end product look like for what we see from Leiden Rock? I know you guys are going to be going for 30 years and probably going to the north and filling that in. I was thinking more of what does that look like from what we're seeing, and what is that, how long before you start topping that out and putting grass seed on that east slope?
Sure, sure. So like you said, yeah, we've got about 30 years left, maybe a little less, depending on volumes that come in. I would say right now we're probably, just off the top of my head, 50 feet below the top of the hogback. And we actually end up being 30 feet higher than the hogback.
Okay.
So the landfill moves, I gotta get my directions right here, northeast, kind of towards the power plant, basically,
Right.
is where we start filling next. And the next cell, which is the next place we put trash, is about 5 years out, which will be, back of kind of where that concrete recycling is all going on over there. And then to your question about what it looks like in the end, yeah, it'll be a grassy slope. You won't even know it's a landfill over there. There will be the flare down along the line, and that thing will probably burn for a very, very, very long time because the landfill is always generating methane, so it's always going to have to burn that stuff off. But yeah, probably 30 years, call it 35 years. It'll be a grassy knoll to look like any other hill that's around here.
All right. Well, I'll probably be in my own grassy knoll by then. So.
You and me both. Good questions, though. Good questions. I appreciate it.
Hey, Chris, how often does your team patrol the neighborhood and the surrounding area? If I remember from past conversations, your team would actually routinely drive the area, seeing what the trash conditions were looking like.
Yeah, so I definitely go in there Mondays because that's your guys' trash day and recycling days, just to see what's going on, see if any cans got knocked over, whatever, I can get cleaned up. And then I'm out there every day, Monday through Friday. I'm in the neighborhood, or I go by the clubhouse, try to check in with Ben or Katie over there, see what's going on. But I'll go in different entrances on different days just to get a different perspective. I don't drive every road every day, obviously, or I'd be driving all day. But the other thing I have to do is what's called an odor patrol. So I have to make a loop of the landfill, not only inside the gate, but also outside of the area to make sure that we're not polluting the air with odors also. So that's part of my daily routine is doing an odor patrol, and I go through the neighborhood just to make sure that there's nothing over there, or if there's a trash bag that was left behind from the previous day, I can pick it up or whatever. But yeah, I'm over there every day.
Stephen, you joined late. Do you have, does anybody have any other questions for Chris? I hear none. Chris, my final question is, how do you guys deal with the bags that are stuck in on the trees pretty high up?
The ones that are pretty high up, Mother Nature's gonna have to take care of those. Those are just unsafe, and I can't send anybody up those limbs. That's tough. Yeah, and we actually partner with Arvada really hard in Petridge Park. I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Ben. He's the park manager. Anyway, he'll give me a call every now and then to help him pick up the bags or go out there, and he helps me and I help him out quite a bit on that part. We've got access to get into those roads and that path and drive that path and get the stuff picked up. So we do what we need to do.
Chris, I thought you mentioned a couple times the flame and the vent tube that you have there. We actually have a resident who is a drone pilot,
Oh,
And
cool.
he has flown over the top of that and videoed down in.
Yeesh.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, be careful. That thing's 1,700 degrees. It'll cook you.
Yeah, Tim's got some great footage of that. I thought it was
That's
kind of
cool. You'll have to send that to me or get me in contact with him. That'd be cool to see.
okay. I'll see if I can get Tim to send it your way. He's a great
Awesome. Awesome.
guy.
Can't think of other things that people brought up. And how often do you cover the trash? Was it, did I hear you say 7 days or something like that? You completely cover with dirt?
So the trash has to be covered every night, whether it's with a spray on. So there's daily cover, which is every day. That's 6 inches of dirt every day, or what's called an alternative daily cover. It stands for ADC is what we call it. And in the summer, that's a spray that we spray on the trash because we don't have the winds, obviously. So it's recycled newspaper, a green dye, and guar gum, which is a tackifier to keep the trash held down. That's what we do in the summer. In the winter months, the windy months, we use tire shreds. So that's a recycle program through the state of Colorado. We use shredded glass, and we use dirt and C&D actually when a big construction job will come in with concrete or rebar or something really heavy. We can use that to put on top of the trash too. So that a combination of all that happens every night.
Cool. Anything else from the residents?
I just have one question. So I actually live right next door to Greg. So I've only lived here with my partner maybe less than a year. We're coming up on a year. Is this like a reoccurring issue every year that we constantly are talking about? Okay.
Yes.
So I guess my question is then, if this is always something that we're talking about, doesn't it seem, at least to me, that you're not actually doing enough to contain the trash that's blowing? If this is happening every single year and we're talking about this every single year.
Yeah, I get that. We are a public service, so your guys' trash does have to go somewhere. And we certainly do our best to keep the trash on site. It's just that some days we'll get those crazy gusts and it will carry off the trash. It's unfortunately it's where we work and where we live.
That's actually is a very good question that you just asked and you pointed out is, wow, the stuff seems to blow everywhere. It seems like what they're doing isn't working. Those of us who have been here for a few years, though, have seen the responsiveness by Republic when it does happen. So we've seen the crews out there and we watched them pick them up, and we've gone through these meetings where we've learned that they do walk the talk, and they do send crews out to pick things up, and they do a pretty good job. It's ironic, really. The situation here is actually much better than it was a few years ago. When the neighborhood was being constructed, being built out, there was trash everywhere because we had open dumpsters where the contractors were throwing stuff in the dumpsters. The wind had come through, pull it all out, and blow it all over the place. These poor guys for Republic were out there picking up that trash as well, and it wasn't even their fault. So, I very much get your point, because you haven't had a chance to see them actually perform in some of these wind events. And by the way, they get a lot worse. One Christmas a couple years ago, we did get gusts over 100 miles an hour. So you might want to tie down the patio furniture and the grill and all that kind of stuff, because it gets pretty nasty.
Yeah, Brett, if you remember that's also when we had that hole that popped up in that fence, and the Jurassic Park fence failed, and that's big time no fun when that happens.
Yeah.
So to that point, we have a contractor now that comes on twice a year and will go through the chain link fence and make sure that doesn't happen again for me, so that we don't have that. I think it was Christmas Eve, wasn't it? When that happened, it kind of ruined everyone's Christmas, and yeah, that wasn't good. So we've fixed that problem, hopefully. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I just thought about it, Especially if we have wind events on Sunday nights, cruising into Monday mornings when it's your guys' trash and recycling day. If your trash can lids don't lock or they don't have the locking mechanism, please let me know, because that will just amplify the situation. If your trash can knock over, it opens up and it just blows down the street. So Katie, if there's anyone out there that, has that, let me know, let Dawn know. Dawn, and we will get that baby swapped out, because that's going to save us time and headache too.
Yeah, I can attest. We have a 5th season in Lion Rock now, and we have all the typical, then we have a 5th season of trash season. And by January, it'll look like it never happened. So it just has to be patience for a few months. And then you have to remember last spring, you didn't see any trash. So Chris, I think you're doing a great job and doing the best you can with the, somebody chose to put a dump in a windy area. Not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure the logic in that.
Right. Well, I certainly appreciate it, guys. We strive to get it picked up and get you guys taken care of as quickly and as safely as we can. It's a big deal.
The residents have raised a couple good points though, and I think it's important that we always are trying to look for better and better solutions. And so we want to listen to resident input, and we do always want to think, is there a better way that we can do this with different kind of measures, with different kind of technology that comes out, because things change every year. So as long as we're still thinking about that, combined with the good relationship and the good service we've always had with Republic, I think we'll keep it down to a dull roar. But we are going to need to have these conversations every year just to let residents know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully with, well, I was going to say with COVID slowing down, it sounds like it's not slowing down now, but hopefully when we get back to the every quarter just coming over, and, if we're not talking about windblown trash, we're talking about how a landfill's made, or, hauling questions or recycling, or, something just to keep the lines of communication open. Because the last thing I need is a bad relationship with you guys, and this just goes downhill, and then nobody's happy. So hopefully we can get back to that, even if it's one of these Zoom meetings or something. I don't know. We will figure it out.
Yeah. To everybody that's on, and to people that watch this recording, you can email Brett and I. Our contact information is everywhere, but it'd be even better if you just email Chris directly, because that's what we're going to end up doing anyway. So his information, we'll put him somewhere on the newsletter, or the management will come up with somewhat best to send it out. And Chris is always responsive, and we'll go from there if I don't hear any other questions.
So Katie, are you going to be able to summarize this, kind of put this, everything that Chris talked about, the remediation, the measures, can we kind of summarize that a little bit and put something out? Hey, this is what we learned. You're awesome. Thank you.
And Katie, I'll send you the recording. It started off at a weird spot, but at least we have it and people can view it at their leisure.
Perfect.
I would recommend just a reminder also to us homeowners about watching the wind when we put our trash cans out. I mean, just this morning I walked out and my neighbor had all kinds of trash piled next to the trash can, not in it. I went out to check my own trash can and it was gone. So it's in another part of Leiden right now. Someone got their trash because they were careless, putting it out. And you go up and down and there's people throwing boxes in. We get a wind event, that stuff's gone. And, that is 100% preventable by us doing our own job of that.
Very good
Great
point. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining us, staying late in the office, or joining us from home.
No problem.
We'll schedule this yearly, so and new residents can learn about it as soon as possible, and hopefully get more than 2 people join.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.